Hi, this is Gary Kemp, and this is my track by track from my new album, This Destination.
It's passing through, it's the old and new. He loves you all, the many and the few.
So Borrowed Town is the first track on the album. Funnily enough, I wrote these lyrics on an underground train in London. I guess I was on the District line. I was actually going to have lunch with Pete Townsend, and he's one of the writers that I admire the most. So I thought, I better write a song if I'm going to see him. And I wrote the entire lyric. Never had a tune for it at that point. And it's about living in London. Although it doesn't mention London specifically, it's about my city, and it's about how we only ever borrow it for a short period of time. Not even our lifetime, really. That time when we're kings of the street, and then it goes, and it's someone else's, and it's constantly in flux. It actually took me a year or so to come up with the tune that I finally fell upon for Borrowed Town. And I'm really pleased with it. It starts off in a very melancholy way and then crescendos into this big rock part at the end, where I kind of ask, I suppose it's my wife, I always think of her, I kind of ask for that person to save me from this city and take me to their village, which is a metaphorical place that I want to go to.
This destination's here for you. This destination's here for you.
This Destination is second on the album because it fitted in there musically, but it was the last song I wrote. In a way, I think I'd freed myself by writing all the other songs. This album began with a great sense of anxiety and personal anxiety that I was experiencing, never quite sure if you're doing the right thing in life, and sort of stresses of growing older and whatever it might be, but that was what was inputting a lot of the lyrics initially. And then I really felt, actually by the end, I felt a great deal of happiness, and I felt that I realized that the place for me, my destination, where I have to go, is music, because that saves me, that makes me feel healthy. And so there is a line that I draw from the first song I wrote, which is Take the Wheel, to the last song I wrote, which is This Destination, and I felt that I'd arrived by the end of it. You know, I like the upbeat quality of this song, This Destination. I think I suppose it takes Isley Brothers and those sort of 60s, 70s soul bands that as its inspiration. You know, I was a soul boy back in the 70s for a while, and I've always loved that kind of music. And so I suppose that was where I was planting it. And I still think you can retain a certain amount of darkness in your lyric, even though you're surrounding it with an upbeat sentiment. I like that juxtaposition.
My eyes are blurry, my mouth it's dry. Been dealing with things so badly, listen.
Put Your Head Up was a bit of information that I was trying to give myself, because I think during that period of writing that song, you know, my feet are dragging, my arms feel weight, you know, I wasn't feeling as healthy as I should mentally. No matter how successful you've been in life, and maybe that is what drags you down sometimes, you know, we all struggle to feel good about ourselves at times. And I wrote that song initially with that as my deepest feeling. And then the chorus came out, and the chorus was this other voice on my other shoulder saying, put your head up, you know, it's all right. You know, because that sort of attitude, you know, they say if you smile every day, you know, in the morning if you smile, you're going to have a better day. Maybe if you dance, you'll have a better day. So I was trying to tell myself, you know, to just stand tall. Put your head up.
Put your head up, put your head up, put your head up, it's alright.
I think making music is my answer to any of my personal problems. You know, my therapy is in my guitar, it's in my keyboard, you know, that's where I go. My youngest kid used to run to the piano every time he got told off and find solace. So I find solace in instruments and in music, and especially in songwriting. It is therapy for me. And I think whatever I feel personally is very common. It's not like you have to only be in my position to feel that. So I think, you know, hopefully it's a universal experience that we're all trying to listen to other people's stories and find a way out.
Please turn the light down till it's low, put that gun away.
Take the Wheel was the first song that I wrote for the album. It came immediately after finishing In Solo, and In Solo was sort of done and dusted and out of the way. And Take the Wheel has a classic film noir setting that I wanted to write one of those kind of 50s, 60s sounding Scott Walker type tracks, but it is about anxiety. It is about wanting someone else to take control of your life. You know, I can't steer this anymore. Could you take the wheel, please? You know, I frantically feel like I'm stuck in the city, trying to just get down the road. So I think that's sort of what the essence of the song is about. There's a bit of it is quite dark. It is theatrical, and I went for that. And the strings were fantastic to put on down at Rack Studios. These big sweeping strings that we'd created with John Metcalf, our string arranger. I'm very proud of that song. It kind of got the whole album rolling for me once I'd finished it.
To be alone was now her choice instead. She's better off with rhythm and oh, now she's dancing in bed.
The Dancing in Bed, I wrote lyrically first. I don't know where it came from. I suppose Goffin and King are the famous male-female songwriters that we know of. Gilmore and Sampson, you know, I mean, definitely a history of men and women getting together and writing great pop songs. So I tell this story about a woman who's fed up with trying to run after relationships and making them work and turns to just writing songs, writing lyrics. And then a guy who has a very straight, boring job and decides to give that up and buy a red Fender guitar. They get together. She sends him some lyrics. He lives in Cricklewood. He starts writing great tunes to them, and they get together and have lots and lots of hits. And they're dancing in bed because that's probably the best place to dance.
Where a light once formed around you as we went to meet on a windswept street, on a windswept street.
Windswept Street is also, it says 1978 in brackets after, because that's when it's set initially. It's about me being about 18, hanging out on the streets of Soho when we were going to the Blitz Club and Billy's and that whole gang of kids that was so exciting to be with growing up, you know, Boy George and whoever was around at that time within the Blitz Club. And it's about one of those guys that just stands out from the crowd, really special person that everyone is drawn to. And it's about me walking through those streets of Soho now and sensing his ghost and his spirit, and you know, that don't hold me section is, I'm in this moment, I can still feel them, they're still almost here. And that's sort of what it's about, how that person will always stay with me, those moments of inspiration that made me want to be someone else, you know. There are actually 2 songs on the album about that person, and there was, because Boy is the other song, which is the bonus track on the deluxe edition, and that's about him too.
See it in your eyes, it's a long road, it's a long road. Old news.
Johnny's Coming Home, I had some fun with that because, you know, the whole middle section, it goes into a completely different dreamscape. What is it about? It's about a rock star who run out of steam and decides to go back home. He's been away for a long time, so it's a kind of fantasy story of this guy who was once of great success, and I guess is washed up and decides to go back to his home and feels a bit guilty that he's not bringing back the goods that he went out to get. It's the kind of guy who never really achieved everything he wanted to achieve in rock music. It's not specific, but that's what's on my mind when I write a song like that. But he's hoping that, you know, he still gets some kind of love and attention and a welcome when he gets back. So that's the story behind it. And it's 2 completely different pieces of music. I suppose musically, you know, I am the combination of a lot of different artists that I grew up with, whether that's Wings or whether that's 10cc or whether it's Bowie, you know, Roxy Music. But I like the playfulness of 10cc, I like the cinematic quality of what they achieve in music. And I suppose, you know, on this song there's elements of that I can thank them for.
He's getting hotter in Gucci and in Prada. Dive down to the ladder. There's something else you'd rather consume.
At the Chateau is another story song, and it's about the art world. And I imagined in my head that they've rented this chateau out in the south of France somewhere where they have this big art gathering. And I suppose I'm being a bit brutal towards those people that I know quite well over the years, and that whole world of art and selling art and being seen. And in fact, it begins with a little cocktail party, and you can just hear in the background a radio that they're listening to, or some music that they're listening to, which is the middle section, the sort of Michel Legrand middle section, where it goes off into a 60s movie landscape that I created along with Toby Chapman, my co-producer. But it's just, yeah, it's a lot of fun in that, a lot of fun rhymes with Gucci and Prada and Lada.
The factory floor was the place he felt alive. An old dust coat of ink and brown.
I was struggling to write for a bit, and out of the blue, Richard Hawley, the singer, rang my phone, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to write a song, you know, trying to write songs." "What are you going to write it on? You're writing it on a piano or..." I mean, I can't do Richard's accent, but you're writing it on a piano or a guitar? I said, trying to write on a piano. He goes, "Go to the piano and now sit down at the piano." Okay, Richard, I've got the phone under my ear. "Now put your hands out and close your eyes." So I did this, and he said, "I'm going to go now, and you're going to write an amazing song." And then I wrote Work. And it's about my dad and my mum and the work that they did in life and me trying to make things work. About my dad, how he struggled and had a nervous breakdown. He was trying to make his life work, doing a job that he didn't like. So it's this use of the word work really is something we all have to do, and we're proud of whatever we do, hopefully. But at the same time, trying to make life work. I've got to make it work is how it ends, you know. So thank you to Richard for the inspiration.
Giving it up, giving it up, giving it. Giving it up, giving it up, giving it. Giving it up, giving it up, giving it.
Yeah, I think Giving It Up was a sort of another song about anxiety, but trying to get rid of it, trying to be positive about it, you know, trying to, you know, leap out of whatever feelings I had that were holding me down and you know, just give them up, just get out, you know. And I think that's where the heart of that song comes from. In a similar way to Put Your Head Up, it was me talking to myself again, you know, trying to find positivity in life. That's where Giving It Up comes from.
I know where I'm going. I have planned to take a rest there.
I Know Where I'm Going is actually a title of a Powell and Pressburger movie that I really loved, but that title kept on popping into my head a lot. I didn't know what it was about, and I sat at the piano and let the song kind of happen itself naturally. And it's a sort of metaphorical song about me wanting and waiting and knowing that eventually there's a nicer place to go emotionally and spiritually, an island. And maybe then I'll look back and somehow I suppose in a way it can be about death, but finding a sort of solace in that and a happiness in that. And it's very difficult to define that song because there's so much spiritual quality in it, even though I'm not religious in any way. I just saw the metaphor of wanting to go to that island and climb the staircase, the spiral staircase of the lighthouse, and send signals back, you know, to the people that you leave behind. It had to go at the end of the album. There was no other place for it. It was, as soon as I wrote it, I knew it was the end of the record.
He was a kid who never cried. He kept his friendships left untied. He never really needed me. He was a boy of mystery.
So Boy is one of the 3 bonus tracks on the album, and it's a similar story to Windswept Street, really. It's about one of those great young kids reading Jean-Paul Sartre and reading Jean Genet, and me going, what? You know, who are these people you're reading? I want to read that too. And him telling me stuff, and him being a writer, and him, you know, looking the coolest kid in the street, and, you know, all of us looking dumb next to him. But he's that person who pulls you up into another realm you aspire to be, that, you know, can make you change your life for the better. And you know, we all need those people in our lives, and this guy, Boy, is that man.